Hey, what's going on, Brother Bear?
Hey man, how are you doing this evening?
I'm doing great. I'm ready for this week's HillbillYinzer. I hope you are too. Lots of stuff to talk about. How you feeling?
Oh, I'm feeling awesome. I can't complain. We got, 2 days away from the draft. The Pirates are heading out of town, out of the state of PA for 6 days, so everybody can kind of cool down. Not. The Penguins, unfortunately, are done with their season, but mind you, the Scranton Wilkes-Barre little baby Pens are in the playoffs. And of course,
Playoffs.
yeah, then we have spring football for colleges that we all enjoy from West Virginia to Pittsburgh. So it's all good. Plus the NBA basketball, even though the city of Pittsburgh does not have a team in the NBA, it's still fun to watch the NBA playoffs. So I'm good. Thank you for asking.
It is riveting. At least when the finals rolls around.
Yes.
Well, I got my stadium cup here full of Blackberry Crown and Sprite. What do you got, buddy?
I got a little Four Roses in my little glass here.
We need to get them aboard as a sponsor.
Yeah, that would be awesome. That would be awesome.
All right, well, topics for tonight. We're going to talk a little bit about Aaron Rodgers' character, which revealed itself once again last week. I want to elaborate on that. And the latest example of why any sane Steelers fan does not want him as our quarterback. But, we'll let the listeners chime in on that one and let us know their opinion. And we also wanted to talk about the Buccos a little bit, the bobblehead factor and some of the other things that are going on. So we'll get into those things. But first, we wanted to thank some friends for supporting us and helping us blast off with this thing. What do you say, buddy?
You're darn right. We definitely want to thank Crawford's Black and Gold. There's no doubt about it. So tonight's HillbillYinzer podcast is brought to you by Crawford's Black and Gold gift shop located in Breezewood, PA. Crawford's has all the trendiest official merchandise from your favorite Steel City teams. They offer the largest selection of Steelers, Penguins, Pirates gear. Check it out. CrawfordGiftShop.com.
All right, awesome. And we do have a prize pack we're going to be promoting from time to time that people can enter to win here over the next couple of shows. So we'll get to that in a little while. All right, well, let's kick it off with so Aaron Rodgers got an invitation from the New York Football Jets to come in and chat about the upcoming season, which was bizarre from the beginning, in my opinion, because did he really think there was any chance the Jets wanted him back, especially after trading for Pittsburgh Steeler Justin Fields? Well, anyway, he goes up there, he sits down, and I guess Aaron Glenn, the coach, leaves the room and comes back with the general manager and says to Aaron Rodgers, this is not verbatim, but we just wanted to tell you in person that we're releasing you, but we wanted to know how you want to be released. And Aaron was taken aback by this. And I don't know how the meeting ended, but he went on McAfee and was talking about, whining basically about how he had to use his own dime to fly up there, and he thought they were going to have an intelligent conversation about whether or not he wanted to sail back in and rescue the New York Football Jets for this year. And my first reaction was, first of all, why do you have to say that you had to use your own money to fly to New York from wherever he was, California? Even if he went first class, you're talking about $1,000. What did he make last year? Can you guess, Veej? I don't know the exact number, but I think it was in the 60s, 60 million.
I was going to go a little bit lower than that, but yeah.
Yeah.
So
Over the last 2 years, he's made upwards of 68 or 70 million from the Jets. And he only played this year. So he revealed once again, like we needed that to know what kind of person this guy is. He revealed himself one more time about if he comes in and steals $30 million of our money, he's going to play a few games and then go into meltdown, and Rudolph's going to be the quarterback anyway. Or Shedeur. Hopefully not Shedeur. Anyway, how can anybody who follows the Steelers at this point want Aaron Rodgers to be the quarterback now? I'll bet there's still a lot of them, but how?
Well, it's a great question. I think a lot of us are just numb to the noise now. Some people are still thinking that he has the capabilities that he had when he was a Super Bowl winner before his Achilles. I don't think he's going to get 30 million. I'd be surprised if he gets anything over 10 million because it's only going to be a 1 year deal, and I don't think he's in it for the 1 year deal. I think you brought up probably the most important key factor is his character, and his character is just not going to make everything work for the Steelers for 2025. The only people, or the only group of people who win if Rodgers comes to the Steelers is the media, because it'll be a frenzy. Every day it'll be a frenzy. It'll be something new, and it'll be just something. Can you imagine the Cam Haywards of the world, or the T.J. Watts, or anybody else on that team that's going to be able to put up with his BS? Not to mention, I mean, what do you think about our offensive line? Do you think our offensive line is going to be strong enough if he did show up, that he was going to be able to make it out of a couple games? I mean, no offense to Broderick, but is he going to be any better on the left than the right? Is anybody else going to be any better than what they were last year? I go back and I said it. I may have said it last week. Mike Munchak, baby. Mike Munchak for your offensive line coach. But it's not happening. No offense to the existing offensive line coach, but I'm with you. I don't think he survives, even if they do. So that you just threw away money. And I wish we could all have money like that to throw away. You know what I'm saying? Because it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous to entertain it. It's ridiculous to throw money at it. And, I don't know what else to say. The guy just doesn't have a lot of character anymore. He's more of a challenge from publicity standpoint. And it's just going to be a rainy cloud over Pittsburgh the entire year if he's there. And you know what? Give Mason a chance. Let him go. Who cares? Whether you put Rodgers back there, whether you put Mason's back there, are we going to have any real true difference? Some people say, well, with Rodgers, it'll be 10 wins. With Mason's, it'll be 5 wins. What's the difference between 5 wins and 10 wins and not winning a playoff game? Draft order, right? That's it. That's it. So I look at it and say, whatever they want to do, because we have no control of it. We can sit and bitch about it, and we can sit and applaud it, but I don't think it's going to matter either way if he shows up or doesn't show up. I think everything that's in line right now, there's nothing. And getting a quarterback this year, I don't think matters. Because, again, how many rookie quarterbacks, and you and I talked about this, are going to take a team to the Super Bowl in their first year? Who was the last one? Was it Burrows? Was Burrows the rookie quarterback for Cincinnati that took him and lost to the Rams? Was that the only rookie quarterback? And again, I didn't do my homework on it, so I apologize. But it's one of those things that you really think any of those quarterbacks, because at least then Burrows had some tools. He had some players. What does Pittsburgh really have moving forward? I don't know.
Yeah, I think these quarterbacks that are in this draft, anybody who's thinking a C.J. Stroud or even a Brock Purdy is coming out of this draft is probably pretty delusional. So they just need to go with best player available when they go to draft. And I don't see any reason to trade up, to make some crazy trade to trade up unless you're going to get, Abdul Carter or Ashton Genty, or a player of that caliber. So hopefully they'll just stand pat and they'll draft the best player, and they'll tell Aaron Rodgers, sorry, dude, we're not entertaining this folly anymore. But we'll see. And second topic would be the Buccos, which we always seem to circle back to them, and this time it's the Bobblehead fiasco, where Bob Nutting is driving to the game, or he's not driving. Does that guy drive?
Who knows? Ubers.
He's being limoed to the game, and notices that there are fans lined up all the way across the Clemente Bridge to try to be one of the first 18,000 people in the ballpark to get a Paul Skeens Rookie of the Year bobblehead. And he proclaims to his assistant, everybody is going to get a bobblehead, no matter if they're the first 18,000 or not, as long as they had a ticket to the game. And, on the surface, that's just a really nice thing to do. And, that's great. I would congratulate him for that type of gesture. But when you crunch the numbers, the extra, $250,000 or whatever he had to write a check for to purchase the extra bobbleheads, he'd make that money back. If we had a winning team, he'd make 3 times that much money over that homestand in ticket sales and, souvenir sales and food,
Concessions,
parking, whatever.
merchandise. Yeah.
So, that just goes back to this whole argument of what is at the end of the rainbow here for the Pittsburgh Pirates? What's the pot of gold? I always used to talk with people about Neil Brown at West Virginia. I kind of knew from the beginning that the pot of gold with him was going to be 8-4. Maybe, make it to a decent bowl game. That was going to be it. You could tell from the very beginning of his tenure. And sure enough, we won the Duke's Mayo Bowl 2 years ago, and he got showered with mayonnaise, and we were either 8-4 or 9-4. And then everything just kind of fell apart. So what is the pot of gold with the Pirates? Charrington talks about playoff games. Shelton preseason talked about it's time to win. Nutting says he's done everything that he can do to make the team a winner. And, Travis Williams continues to be a PR superstar for the team. But what are we talking about here? Making the playoffs or putting together a team that can win the World Series? Because with Skeens and Bubba and hopefully Jared Jones comes back and he's 100%, all you really needed during this offseason was a bat. One bat. And yeah, they don't grow on trees, but, we didn't even try. We didn't make an offer for anybody. Instead we threw, a couple million to Pham, and we traded for Horowitz. And, that's really it. We proclaimed IKF a full-time shortstop, which he's actually been okay. But they didn't do anything to show us that they're trying to build a World Series team. So the end of the rainbow to this for this team is the playoffs, just making the playoffs. Do we really want that, or do we want to have a more of a mentality like Kyle Dubas has, where, after this next year when Gino and Letang retire, I want Sid to play like 2 more years, and I want to just bring in an influx of talent and build a Stanley Cup level team again. Because we all know that when you get to the playoffs in the hockey, all you got to do is have a really good goaltender standing on his head and 2-3 good lines, and you can do it. I mean, look at all the teams that have won with that scenario. In baseball, it's different. You got to have a guy at every position. You got to have a baseball player at every position. You can't, have Skeens and then parade Emmanuel Valdez out there and Jack's so winging a Miskey.
Oh my gosh, poor Jack.
I don't know. So, what do you think about the Buccos the end of the rainbow forecast?
Well, if I would remember the Kermit Frog song, the Rainbow song.
Rainbow Connection, yeah, it's a good one. We're going to play that when Sawinski comes up.
I don't know if there is an end of the rainbow here. I mean, here's the thing. Think about it. You have a number of guys that are playing at a major league level. You have O'Neal Cruz. It just seems like he just doesn't care. You have Frazier. You have Pham. You got, we haven't even seen Horowitz. There's no fit. McCutcheon should be playing right field. Just let it go. Put him in the ground if you have to, with a rose over top. But he should be playing right field. But the other thing, too, is think about it. Every time they go out on the field at home, whether it's 5,000 or it's 35,000 people, they're all chanting, "Sell the team." I mean, think about if you were on the field playing and representing Pittsburgh, how you would feel. if that's all the fans were looking at, and again, I'm not saying the fans are right or wrong. I'm just saying, yes, we're all tired. You know, really, I think we all just want to have a competitive team. We don't have a competitive team. I don't think we, after 4 years of DS, he hasn't really shown us that he has the aptitude to be a good manager, whether it's a starting lineup, whether it's bringing in relievers, whether it's knowing or acknowledging anything. And, I don't know if Kelly does either, to be honest with you, but he is a Pittsburgh person, so people will go crazy for him. You have a nice rotation, but the rotation is just not going to it's not going to turn out great because you don't have the hitting support. So when it comes to the end of the rainbow, that could be just the end of the season, to be honest with you. Because what are we going to end up doing? What are they right now? 8-15, heading out to the West Coast. Where do they come back? 9-20, maybe.
If they're lucky.
If they're lucky, come back 9-20. So 29 games into the season, you're already 9-20. It's not going to get any better. And then once it gets to that point, then it's everybody's attitude, and it's deflating. And is Skian's going to be at his top? Is any of the pitchers going to be at their top? Or will the two veteran pitchers be on their top because they want to be traded? At this point, if you're 9-20, I don't know if Shelton's the right guy. I would have to say no, but I don't know because we're not there. It's just time to bring up the guys who are playing well. Is it who's playing first base in Indianapolis? I read it. He's having a real. It's not York, is it? Is it Nick York?
He played there in spring training.
Well, the guy down there is playing
and Billy
really well.
Wilk. And DJ Stewart.
Might be him. I'm not sure.
We had a bunch of guys played first base in spring training. None of them made the team.
And we have Valdez, who can't turn a double play, who can't catch a ball thrown from the pitcher.
Yeah, I think that Charrington's just so desperate to have the Quinn Priester trade work out that and you know what? Valdez is a baseball player. He's a good baseball player. It's just he's like 5'0" with short arms and no speed. And but if he did have O'Neal Cruz's athleticism, or Key Brian Hayes' eye-hand coordination, which I'll get to in a second, he could be a great player. But he doesn't. He's not gifted like that. So you're basically just parading out a 4A player to play every day. And it's not fair to him, It's like, Key Brian Hayes is a really good example of a player who's got a plus tool in his eye-hand coordination as a fielder. I mean, he literally could play without a glove if it didn't hurt. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Why can't he translate that to his hitting? The guy takes more called third strikes, probably not more than Reynolds and Sawinski, but it's close. The three of those guys, they take called third strikes all the time. And, obviously, Haig and his staff are telling these guys, hey, don't, if you're going to swing, and, go for the downs, which is fine if you're the Yankees or the Blue Jays or a lineup that's got pop. But our lineup needs to, if you have two strikes on you, learn how to play small ball. Just get the barrel on the ball somehow. Mm-hmm. Maybe you'll foul it off. Maybe you'll hit a dribbler and beat it out. Key Brian Hayes has got speed. Key Brian Hayes has got incredible eye-hand coordination. So why is he taking third strikes, and why is his head in the stands when he swings and misses on third strike? That's the hitting coach. And Manuel Valdez doesn't strike out a whole hell of a lot. He makes contact. He's actually been hitting the ball pretty well lately. But he would not be playing for any other baseball team but us right now. And it's because of the freaking Quinn Priester trade. And Charrington desperately wanting that trade to pan out. So that's the type of mentality our general manager has. And it's translating to hole out there. We're behind the 8 ball before we even start the ball game, even with Skeens on the mound. So,
I mean, I guess what Charrington could do is he could call the White Sox, or actually he could probably call the Rockies, because the Rockies only have 3 wins, and maybe we can actually swap players back and forth so we can actually have a legitimate record this year, because there's 100 and 80 games, right? 160 games, correct?
62.
162. So you're going to
Unless they
win
changed
60. You're going to win 60. You're going to lose 60. It's what you do with the other 60 or 62. So,
42.
see, I can't even add tonight. So you can't. What are you going to do with the other?
I do get your point though. Yeah.
Again, Nutting is not going to. He's not going to sell teams. So if I could say anything to all the HillbillYinzers, just let it go. Stop. He's not going to sell a team. If he sells it, fantastic. But you have Travis, who is like, he's like behind everybody. I don't. You said PR. I'm like, when was the last time we saw him? Or even speak?
When he was apologizing for the bricks.
For the bricks.
Or the Clemente wall.
And that's the only time. So,
Poor guy.
What's his job? Okay,
to apologize for all
of everybody else's mess ups. And then you have Sherrington. Okay, so you have 5 years of Sherrington, and this is what we have. Probably would have been fired earlier. I don't know what the point is of keeping him, because what has he done? And even if you look at the minor league system, well, how's the minor league system improved year after year after year? The last thing, I think last year, their high single A team, was at Greensboro, the Grasshoppers, they had a really good year. So that means that based on just moving up the slide a little bit, Altoona could be really good this year. From that perspective, Sherrington hasn't done anything, and Shelton hasn't really proved. And right now, you're stuck in the mud, right? And nobody's getting a good attitude about it. Even if you go out to California for 6 days, it's not going to be any better. When you come home, it's going to get worse. You're better off just saying, let's just put new faces out there. And if that's Kelly, that's Kelly. If it's not, and then just say, guys, go have fun. Just forget about everything. But got to get rid of Pham. You got to get rid of Frazier. You got to get rid of Valdez. And just start bringing up the youth, to be honest with you. And let it go. Just let them have fun. Maybe the fans will enjoy that. But that's the only thing that they can do, in my opinion, now, because the season is pretty much done. And I hate to say that when they're 8-15, but does anybody realistically think that they're going to even come close to 500? And if that's so, then you know what? It's just time to have fun. It's time to fire the people that need to be gone. And it's not that we don't like them. We don't know them. No one's ever truly been able to say, here's where we failed. That's the problem. When you hear Derek Shelton talk all the time, well, we got to do this better, and we got to do this better. We got to start calling people out. You're all professionals. Call out the batting coach. If he's not doing his job and helping Sawinski or Hayes or whomever hit, what's the deal? You were down in spring training. That was, 30 days? You're a
Yeah, I think the problem with the Pirates is that it's just not a results-driven operation. It's data-driven, which they're not alone in that. Most teams do that. And it's projections, a lot of excuses, and appeasement of certain players, like O'Neal Cruz, going from shortstop to the outfield. You know how I feel about him. He needs to be in right field. And Ji-Hwan Bae needs to be playing center field. Just let him have a whole season there because he's a baseball player. Mm-hmm. Is he great? Who knows? Probably not, but he needs to be out there and playing. And then Brian Reynolds can be playing left or right depending on, certain conditions, matchups. And Tommy Pham needs to just find another team or go play in Japan or something. Yeah. So, and Sawinski, this is what I'm talking about. So Charrington and Shelton and their staffs, their geeks that analyze this stuff, somehow think that Jack Sawinski's going to go back to his form from 2 years ago where he hit 26 home runs, something like that. He hit 3 home runs on Father's Day. I was at the game. And somehow they think he's going to go back to that. But you know what's happened with Jack Sawinski is that Major League pitchers watch video of you. And Major League pitchers know your tendencies, and they know how to pitch you. So they make adjustments. And the good hitters, they adjust back. And Sawinski has now proven over certainly the first 20 games of this year, but then last year, all of last year, that he cannot make that adjustment. And so they're still putting him out there because he's got tools. He's got power. He hit for average 2 years ago. He hit for power 2 years ago. He can run. He's got a decent arm. He probably has the second best arm in our outfield. And he hustles. But he strikes out 44% of the time. And I don't see that getting lower, So basically you're putting a player out there that's going to strike out close to half the time. And, so that's the kind of player. I don't know if he has any options left. Does it really matter if he has any options? Who's going to pick him up off of waivers if we send him down and he's out of options? Who's picking him up? Nobody. So send him down again and let G1 Bay play 50 games and see what he can do, because this O'Neal Cruz leading off stuff is ridiculous. I admire the fact that he wants to one-up his buddy Ellie in Cincinnati and steal more bases than him this year. And right now he's leading at least the National League in stolen bases. That's great. I love that he has that goal and he's going for it. But he shouldn't be leading off for the Pittsburgh Pirates. Okay, he doesn't have that kind of on-base percentage. He doesn't have, he's a power hitter, or at least he's supposed to be. So, G1 Bay should be leading off. And there isn't really anybody else in that lineup that qualifies to be the leadoff hitter. Maybe Kutch, I guess, because over the years he's learned to lay off high pitches and ridiculous pitches. Hopefully he's teaching Hank how to do that. Because if Hank could keep from swinging at those balls right up above the letters and just waiting for those ones in the wheelhouse, he could make some strides this year.
Well,
but
I would have to agree with you on a lot of those factors. I think just getting a situated lineup where you're not rotating guys around all the time gives some stability to what's going on. And is that Kutch at 1, or is that Bay at 1? Is Kutch 2? Is O'Neal 3? I don't know where you have a 4. It's not Hayes. It's not Reynolds this year. Yeah, it's not.
That's where he bats every night.
IK, Bart. That's the whole thing. We just, and we're going to sit here and we're going to unfortunately talk about this all year long. And it's sad. It really is. I mean, nobody should be treated like this from a fan's perspective, and the players should be treated like the way they're being treated. And it's not targeting them, but man, how do you get up for games like that? Even if Skeens is pitching, how does he feel about it? And then you have all the other pitchers. Instead of having 5 really good starting pitchers and them all challenging each other every 5 days, who can be better, which would be fun to watch. But at the same time, if you're a pitcher, you have to almost be perfect with this offensive lineup to even get a victory. So,
well, they just have their mentality's not there. I mean, they're down 10-2. They'll score 5 runs in the 8th inning. They're down, 5-1 or 4-1. They'll score a couple of runs and make it close. If they're down 2-1 or 3-2, they can't even get a guy past second. Yeah. It's that whole mentality goes back to the manager. And I'm sorry, man. It's like it's been over a year now since most of us who follow the team with half of a brain have figured out that Derek Shelton is just a nice dude who knows the game, but he is not a motivator of a winning mentality. How many more examples do you need? I'm sorry. It's like,
I totally agree with you. I think Derek's just not, again, what background do I have outside of being a fan with you? Probably none, but I mean, we've watched
more games, in our lives than Derek Shelton has.
Yeah, I mean,
and it's not even close.
I think we'd all rather just see Jim Leland pop in with a cup of coffee and a cigarette, put on the uniform and just stand there and start screaming at people. But again, I mean, what are we doing? Old school baseball where you get yelled at all the time to, hey, baseball today where we're going to coddle you whether you play well or don't play well. We want to make sure that you're okay. It's like when we were growing up. You get yelled at all the time. Again, there's nothing wrong with getting yelled at in a directional way and calling people out to get them out of their mind of, if O'Neal Cruz doesn't want to play center, then somebody talk to him. Look, you don't want to play center, then you're back at short. They're not going to throw him at short. Is he a first baseman? Is he a right fielder? Who knows? But someone's got to get to him and say, look, enough is enough. Either give us 100% or give us our money back. And it's, you want to get a great promotion. Every time the Pirates lose, Nutting should give back the money to the fans. Just give it back.
Yeah, they'll be lined up across the Clemente Bridge for that promotion.
If you're going to put a bad product on, and again, I hate to say the word bad because these aren't bad people. They're just not the level of what we're looking for in a professional baseball team at this point. Right or wrong, their fault, coaching fault, organization's fault, doesn't matter. But if you're going to charge people X amount of dollars to come in for parking, ticket, concessions, merchandise, where's the point where, if you and I go to a game and we get excited and we go watch Paul or we go watch whoever play and they lose 10-2, should we get our money back because of the poor performance on the field? Great topic to talk about.
Well, there's no doubt that they're affected by the apathy and the anger of the fans. Somebody like Canario or, who else have they just brought in fresh and stuck them out there? Valdez is a really good example. Those guys don't know the history. They don't know that we haven't won a division since the early 90s. They don't know that, we haven't won a World Series since 79. They just trying to be Major League Baseball players, but they're obviously affected by it. And look at Brian Reynolds.
Yeah,
and
he's struggling.
IKF doesn't seem to be fazed by it, but he's just kind of a guy. I don't want to ever rag on him because he's a steady player. Ke'Bryan Hayes, isn't it amazing he's made it through these games so far? I don't think he's sat out one day.
Say, what? Well, how many games? 29 games?
Yeah.
No, not even that. 24?
23, yeah. 23
he hasn't
games.
been hurt yet?
Yeah, I don't want to jinx him, but, he needed to step up years ago and become a superstar, and he's just not going to do it, It's up here with him. He's just, I don't know if his dad was like that. I think his dad was had way more of a mean streak than he does, because you can just tell that even when they interviewed him the other day after the game, and he was like, we got to do better. We got to play better. He was saying kind of the same things that Skeens was saying, only Skeens does it in way less words. He just right to the point and says it. And these other guys will say it at their locker in an interview, but you can kind of tell that they don't really believe it because they're part of the losing culture. And not to say that you can't take a handful of guys that are part of a losing culture and flip that. The Royals did it. Yeah. Tampa Bay's done it. Milwaukee, Oakland's made the playoffs a few times. It's possible to do that. Especially with a player like Skeens coming in. But you got to have a manager. Typically when that happens, though, a new manager comes in. You got to have a manager who's able to grab that momentum and take the whole ship and turn the stern and get things going in the right direction. And we don't have that, and it's so obvious. We could beat this horse to death all night. And everybody who happens to be watching this knows the truth as well, unless they're, just totally delusional. So when's it going to happen? I hate cheering against my team. It's like people cheer against their team so you get a better draft pick. People cheer against their team so the manager will get fired. That is the worst, man. That's the worst way to be a fan. That's worse than apathy. It's worse than anger. It's worse than armchair quarterbacks and idiots who think that they should be putting the lineups together and all that, cheering against your team. But that's where it's gotten to with the Pirates. We're all like, God, man, if they go 1-5 on this trip, Shelty might be fired, man. How awesome would that be, man? That's awesome. It's like, how pathetic is that? So
Well,
something's got to go.
you know.
Something's got to be done here, and hopefully it will be before the All-Star break. And I don't know who they're going to bring in, but anyway, do you have anything to add to that before we remind everybody about our wonderful prize pack?
No, there's nothing else I can say about it. I think you've covered pretty much everything, man.
All right. Well, over the next few shows, you're going to be able to register for a prize pack that includes a JT Watt jersey. And a bunch of really cool items like a Terrible Towel flag, which I thought was really cool. I haven't seen that. I actually would want one of those.
Mm-hmm.
Put that out on Sundays,
Well, there's
right there next to the American flag.
There's a cup and there's a hat. I think there is a Terrible Towel itself. So there's a lot of other nice
Growler.
items in the basket. Yes,
Yeah,
the Crawfords is putting up, and we're looking for entries.
Yeah, there's going to be
Correct.
other ways to register, but right now all you have to do is send a simple email with your preferred contact information, whether that be, well, we're going to have your email, but if you want to be texted, just put your number in there. We will not share it with anybody. We're not nearly at that level yet. And your name and maybe your hometown so that we know where you're coming from. And send that to podcast@HillbillYinzer.com. And Hillbilly Yinzer shares the Y. Hillbilly Yinzer. And you can go to HillbillYinzer.com to see our past shows. And we're working on a blog and some other stuff. So
That's awesome.
we hope
That
you
is
guys
awesome.
will enter that.
All right,
So-
do you want to kick off the finale?
What is the finale?
Our jag-off of the podcast. Or the jag-off of the night.
Our first feature.
Our first, there you go, the first feature.
Jag off of the week.
Jag-off of the week.
Yes. The Pittsburgh term for somebody who's gone awry of where he or she should be going. Jag off of the week. So who are our candidates? We got Aaron Rodgers.
There are probably a lot of candidates. So
Who's
we
the other
could-
two? We need 3 candidates.
Well, you could do Sherrington.
Yeah.
We could do Nutting. You could do Art Rooney II. You could do Tomlin. I mean, we could
Let's
probably...
stick with 3 jag offs. All right, let's go Rodgers,
Rodgers,
Charrington,
Sherrington.
and who's the third? You want to go Pens or Steelers?
We got to go Steelers because the draft's coming up and something's going to happen.
Pick a jag off, man. There's several. You want to just go Tomlin?
Sure.
Just want to go Tomlin. Okay.
Sure.
You need to vote, people. You need to vote for your jag off of the week. Also to our email address, podcast@hillbillyinzer.com. Just vote. Aaron, this could be a separate email if you want to. Man, you can send us 2 emails. You can vote Aaron Rodgers. You can vote Mike Tomlin, or you can vote Ben Charrington. Who is your jag off of the week? Send us your thoughts and anything else, and we'll probably read it on the air because we're not getting too many emails these days. Anyway, that's your Hillbilly Yinzer podcast for the week. We'll be back again next week with a couple of fresh topics and have some more fun. Anything else to add there, buddy?
No, man, just enjoy your week. Enjoy the draft coming up, and maybe the Pirates will come back 5-1. Who knows? They could surprise a few people. We'll see what happens.
All right. Well, we'll be cheering for them, and we'll be watching the draft on Thursday, and we'll have a crap ton of stuff to analyze next week from the draft picks and see where we think they might plug in. So it's going to be awesome, and we'll talk with you then, and you have a great night, buddy.
Hey, cheers.
Cheers.